Hello everyone, it's Brian here with a Vinyl Finds video. Again, I did one about 2.5 weeks ago, and here I am again. But that's just the way things happen in this business, this hobby. So let's start with one of my favorite bands, certainly from the 80s and continuing on for many years. And I still consider them a favorite band. Originally a solo project from Matt Johnson. This is This is the 2024 studio recording called Ensoulment. So we haven't heard from this band for quite a long time. Now, there were things that happened in the intervening almost quarter century since we've had a studio recording from There was the comeback special, the triple album release from a few years ago, and Matt has done some soundtrack work, but this is the first studio recording for the band in an album form for almost 25 years, if you can believe it. There's the back of this. There's the gatefold. So I've been waiting a long time for this, I have to tell you. Man, it's on black vinyl. There is a clear vinyl version. I have the black vinyl edition. 2 albums, 2 pieces of vinyl, and it comes with this really nice 32-page booklet. All the art is by Andy Dog, and Andy Dog, for those who don't know, was Matt's brother. He died about 8 years ago in 2016. Now, I can't really show you every single page in here, but it's really well done. There's credits, lyrics, and art scattered throughout. It's all really good. If you're a Dada fan, you're going to recognize some of the names here on the songs. We have DC Collard, James Eller. One person that's missing, I don't know if missing is the right word, one person who's not here is Johnny Marr, who played with him for a while. In fact, when I saw them, the only time I saw them, Johnny Marr was with them. So Matt has always mixed in politics with love songs, and that's what we have here, kind of a mixed bag of songs and lyrics, but altogether really cool. Now, I would say the sound in this record is excellent. It sounds very well recorded. The vinyl is great. Matt's voice is in perfect shape. He sounds terrific. If I were to say one thing, it might be that it's a little slower than previous outings by the band. Cognitive Dissonant, the first track, is possibly the most high energy track, but you have Some Days I Drink My Coffee by the Grave of William Blake, Zen and the Art of Dating, Kisses in the Ring of POTUS. I'm not going to read them all, but an interesting collection of songs. All very well done. They all sound really good. As I said, though, the sound overall is, I think the word might be slower, or maybe a more mature approach to making music. It's not kind of in-your-face, aggressive sound, which is what we get from him these days. If you had heard the comeback special album, you'll have noticed that some of the old classic songs are rendered in such a way where it kind of takes a step back. Maybe it's more introspective. I use the word mature. Maybe that's the approach, but it's certainly not as frenetic as some of the earlier stuff from the band. Now, they're currently on tour, and I have read some comments about the concerts, and some people complain about the way old songs were done. One person recently said that Matt Johnson massacred an old song, and I sort of appreciate that, because you want to hear the songs as you know them, and maybe not always in a new arrangement. But this, though, there's no denying that this is a really good record. It is a strong record. It sounds incredible, so I recommend that. Now, the second record I got is, I'd call it a blind buy, although I think I had heard the name of the band before, or the artist. But when I picked it up, I immediately thought of one of our VC colleagues, and that is the French Vinyl Addict. Not necessarily because I think maybe it's something he necessarily has, but I think he may know them, or I'm wondering if he knows them. Let's put it that way. So it's this band called, well, it's really a duo called Space Art. They're an electronic duo from France. So have a look at this cover here. It's really cool. You have this, I don't know if this is it a welder's hat? Is it a hazmat suit with this painting in the visor, with this on top of this pink with black grid lines? Really effective cover, if you ask me. The grid lines are continued on the back. Now on the back it says Trip in the Head Center, but on the spine it says Trip in the Center Head. Is that a mistake, or is that just they have two names for it and they couldn't figure it out? This happens to be a pressing out of Quebec. You can see that there. You might not be able to see that there. And there's a listing of songs. There's only 7 songs on this record, and when I say songs, they're more like pieces, right? So they're an electronic duo from France, and they have a approach that's synthesizers, drumming, experimental arrangements. There was a point here when I thought, that segment sounds a bit like Pink Floyd. The last track is almost 11 minutes long. So we have a short track of 2 minutes and 53 seconds and then almost 11 minutes. So it's this different approaches. But as I was listening to it, there was one point when I thought, this sounds like Jean-Michel Jarre. If you know his work, especially Oxygen and Equinox, it really reminded me of that. And it turns out that one of the two of the duo, Dominique Perrier, the other guy is Roger Rizzatelli. Dominic later went to work with as a collaborator with Jean-Michel Jarre. So it's interesting that I heard that, and then later he went to work with them. This is phenomenal. I really love this record. Here's a list of some of the instruments on it. You've got the Poly Moog, the Mini Moog, the Hammond organ, the Fender piano, the drums, the clavinet, ARP Odyssey, something called an Eminent, Mellotron, Korg, something says Grosse Caisse Symphonique, timbales, gong, Beltries, vibraphone, electric guitar, and violin électrique flangé. I don't know what that is, to be honest. But this is such an interesting record. I just think it's fantastic. This is their second of the, I'm not sure how many they did. They did 3 original ones, and then I think they may have reformed it. This one came out in 1977 or 1978 or 1979, depending on who you ask. And here's the labels for the Canadian version out of Quebec. Pretty cool. If I see another Space Art album, I am going to be sure to get it because I think this is really, really excellent. And I'd be curious if anybody knows it, especially FVA. If you know it, let me know. Now, the next one is also, I would call it a blind buy as well. I was in the store and I looked this up. It's from a band called Berlin Blondes. And they are a band that formed in Glasgow in 1978 or 79. They did one record in 1980. There may have been a single after this, but they did only one full-length album. And you'd put them in the new wave synth. I hate to say synth pop, but synth new wave, because they sound a bit experimental to me. So a full band, but a lot of keys and I think just drum machines, that kind of thing. Here's the back. They were heavily influenced apparently by Kraftwerk, Roxy Music, and the Berlin period of Bowie, which made me wonder if that's where they got the Berlin Blondes from. So Glasgow band. I love this album cover, the blue and the pink contrasting, these geometric shapes, this piece of architecture and this person. It just seems really interesting to me. And then this is the back with the same person and the shapes here. And this is a UK pressing from 1980. And as I said, they only did one full-length record and then I guess they were done. Copyright notice, how to care for your records. Yeah. And I'll show you the labels if you're interested. These EMI label here. Very cool. So what did I think of this record? I think it was great. It's not the kind of new wave, smooth new wave that you hear from somebody like Visage, for example, but really good. In fact, the first time I was listening to it, I kept thinking of John Fox. If you listen to Metamatic, there's that something in the voice, maybe more than anything, made me think of John Fox. But I appreciate it. I will listen to it more. And that's it, though. There's no more to get from that band unless there's a single somewhere. All right. Now, this is an artist, or a record, I should say, that I should have purchased in 2023 because it made lots of year-end lists as one of the best records. And it was mentioned by several channels in the vinyl community as a record that was really good. You know how things go, you just sometimes don't end up buying things that are on your list. But I eventually got it quite recently. And that is the 5th record from Slowdive called Everything Is Alive. Here is the hype sticker. I just took off this plastic. It says Everything Is Alive, the band's 5th album on crystal clear vinyl. It's on Dead Oceans record label. So now we'll pull out here's the polyline sleeve, and here is the very nice looking crystal clear vinyl. And I'm going to agree with everyone who put it on their year-end best list and everyone who said it was an excellent record, because I really think it is. It really made an impression on me. It's just so good. I guess you normally say they're a shoegaze band. Wow, it's just I keep getting more and more out of it. I've only heard it a couple times, but every time it's something else that occurs to me. It's actually really good. Now, having bought that, I was in a different location, and of course I saw this. This is Slowdive's self-titled record, originally from 2017. It was the first record after a giant 22-year break. This is a 2023 pressing on, again, Dead Oceans There's the back. And again, I have to say, this is a really excellent record. This one is on black vinyl. Whoops, hit my microphone. Black vinyl pressing. It was a bit dirty though when I took it out of the sleeve the first time, so I had to clean it. So it was kind of disappointing there, but love the cover on this one, both of them actually, and I think this is also a really strong record. But I've only been through this one once, so I have to give it some more time. But I think this is really good. So 2 from Slowdive. And then we move on to a band that originally formed in Nottingham, I think, and that is the Sleaford Mods. Every time I hear the Sleaford Mods, I just love them. I think they're fantastic. I don't have that much on vinyl. I have a couple other things. And if I find them for a reasonable price, I'll buy them. This turned out to be an insanely good price. It was used, but it was pretty much mint. And it had 2 price tags. They marked it down all the way to $9.99. Why? I don't know. It's embossed title here, UK Grim from 2023. A lot of tracks on here. They're, I mean, if you know them, you know that there's a duo that sing about class and British culture and living in eras of austerity. I don't know. It's hard to even describe them. Working class life, minimalist post-punk. You know, you have a guy making beats on a computer. When Jason sings, it's like it's kind of speech singing, a bit of, is it rapping? He's got this East Midlands accent, which is amazing, which is incredible. I love it. And it's on this silvery gray vinyl, which is pretty nice looking. So I love this record. I love everything they've done. Not that I've heard everything they've done. There's some guests on here. We have Florence Shaw on one track. We have Perry Farrell on one track. We have Phil Booth on one track. And Dave Navarro is on the same track that Perry Farrell is on, which is kind of interesting. But this album is dedicated to those that suffer the hardest under careerist politics. That kind of sums up their... they're kind of in your face. I mean, they say what they want to say, and they say it clearly and loudly, and I think they're fantastic. Now, moving on to a rather confusing record, and I will leave a link below to a video by our friend Morten Astad, because he recently got this record and went to some lengths to try and explain what it's all about. And rather than having to go through all that again, I'll put a link to it. But I will say a few things. This is Split Enz Mental Notes. This is the original 1976 Canadian pressing. In other parts of the world, this was released under the title Second Thoughts. Oddly, the first Split Enz record in Australia and New Zealand was called Mental Notes. So the track listing of this and Second Thoughts is the same, but the track listing between this and Mental Notes, the original Mental Notes, has some overlap. It's very confusing. Morten talks about this cover here and how it's changed. This cover, this is the image they used on the cover of Second Thoughts, I believe. Weird thing is the track Matinee Idol is incorrectly spelled on this particular label. Instead it says Mantinee, an extra E. An extra and Mantinee Idol, weirdly. You probably won't be able to see that, but it's spelled incorrectly. Other than that, it's a really interesting record. I didn't have it until now, obviously. It's got a bit of proggy pop kind of things going on. That's so creepy. But early Split Enz, quite different from later Split Enz. It doesn't sound like 6 months in a leaky boat and that sort of thing. But and this interesting art here, they look like zombies or something. So I will put, as I say, I'll put the link to Morten's video. Feel free to watch that because he actually spends some time talking about what's going on with these two records. And in the end, he said he was confused, as am I. But you might want to check that video out too. But a really interesting record. And I guess I haven't been telling you how much I paid for these, but this was $7.99 Canadian, or $4 US, or $5 US. Now here's a record that I kind of overlooked for many, many years. I have seen it around, but didn't buy it until I saw one for a really price that I couldn't refuse. And that is this weird Blondie record called The Hunter. And look at Deborah Harry here. I guess she's looking like a lion or something, a male lion with this huge mane. And there's actually face paint. I don't know if you can see it on some of the band members here. This, of course, is probably most famous for having the track For Your Eyes Only, which was rejected for the James Bond film, so they put it on here. I've only listened to this once. Let me be clear on that. and I'm still forming an opinion. It doesn't grab me as much as earlier Blondie records, even Auto American I like better. Parallel Lines, of course, I think is better. Eat to the Beat, those kinds of things. But it's an interesting record that deserves maybe some more attention. This inner sleeve is very simple. Chrysalis labels, which you would come to expect for a Blondie record. So I'm not going to say I love it. I'm not going to say I hate it. I'm undecided, but I think there's something in it. I just have to listen to it a few more times to see what I make of it. And there's makeup on these other guys. It's a strange album cover. So, Blondie. Now, two more things. Next is a record from a Canadian band from Vancouver called, well, it's either called Mauve or Moev. Over the years, I've had various conversations with people who claim it's one or the other. One person vehemently said it's Moev, but who knows? This is called Yeah Whatever, the band's third record from 1988. They're, a synthy pop, new wave band with some industrial components, perhaps, maybe more in the earlier stuff. The single on here was called Yeah Whatever, and they were label mates to a band I really love called Skinny Puppy on the Network label. So, anything that was on the Network label in the 80s, more or less, is something I'm interested in. And that's the classic Network label right there. So a pretty good record. To me, they're not as good as somebody like, Skinny Puppy or maybe even Images in Vogue or Strange Advance, but I kind of enjoyed them. So I was happy to pick that up. I didn't have it for some reason. Let's end with this one. From one of my favorite bands of the 80s. I said that twice now, but this is Lloyd Cole and the Commotions, a 12-inch single for Perfect Skin. This is a West German pressing, as you probably can tell by the spelling up here, or a maxi single, 4-track, 45 RPM single. And I think I mentioned quite recently in a video that I really love Lloyd Cole's voice. I've always loved Lloyd Cole's voice. It just takes me back. When I hear the song Rattlesnakes, it's like a time machine almost. I'm just back. I love that song so much, and Perfect Skin is another of those tracks that just is so evocative. It just brings back memories of a really excellent time in my life. Love that photo on the front and back. So there's 4 tracks on here. There's Perfect Skin, 4 Flights Up. Those were remixed by Rico Kasich. I think they are on the original album too. Andy's Babies and Glory. And as I mentioned, this is from West Germany. And I will show you the labels here. So fantastic. I don't really see very many Lloyd Cole 12-inch records. They seem to be hard to find, but if I ever see one, I will grab it, as I did with that one. Fantastic. I'm happy to have that. So that's it. I didn't count them, but thanks for watching, and I'd like to know your impressions or what you thought of these, and I'll see you in the next video.